Okay, so let's talk about our lab. I know most of us are all back. So we are gonna use Kali for some part. There is a section where we're gonna use Yersinia. We're not gonna do that part because they just locked the graphical user interface of Yersinia, and I couldn't get the last piece of it to work. I just need to focus on like fixing it down the line. But anyway, they want a little bit of donation, and if you don't donate, the package is not available. So that's fine. We don't have to do that step. Okay, so I did highlight it. So you are gonna download Kali Virtual Machine if you don't have the file already. Once you download, so you're gonna go to the website, you're gonna download Kali Virtual Machines. Make sure if we're using Edge, make sure we save it to our downloads folder or on your desktop, the zip file, okay? Because if you log into Canvas using Edge, which is most of you do, make sure we do a save as. It's gonna pop up at the top. And then we're gonna save it to a folder like downloads or on your desktop. Very important. Okay, so I have downloaded my Kali here. Right click, show more options, go to 7-zip, and then we choose extract files. Same steps, just like last week. Okay, hasn't changed. I copy and paste the same exact things. So by the end of the semester, you're gonna be like, oh, I know exactly what to do with Kali Virtual Machine because it is a good tool for you to practice down the line. Okay. So once we extract, we're gonna boot Kali. And if you can't boot Kali, you need to stop me and let me know. Okay. Just follow the instruction. Everything is put there. But if you can't, for some reason, call me. All right. So I extracted in my downloads. Here's my downloaded VirtualBox for Kali. I extract it by right clicking, and then when it's done, it's going to give me the regular folder. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to open up the VBox file. Okay. Now, if your Kali failed the first time, if it's on this list, you need to remove only to get it out of the list and then try to reload it again from the extracted folder. So once I have double clicked the file, the blue file, I'm going to go ahead and click start, and it's going to load my Kali. So you're gonna wait like a minute for it to put the graphical user interface desktop on. And then we're gonna log in using Kali. Okay. And we can click the little blue X to kind of close out the window. We're gonna go Kali and Kali. And if you already have your Kali up, great. Okay, so as you know, and you've seen this before, in Kali, we're mostly going to use the terminal. So click the square icon, the black square icon on the top left to open your terminal emulator. Then we're going to first, before we start running our software or installing, we're going to do a sudo apt update. Always, because otherwise you're going to get stuck later on. And then put in your password, which is Kali. Even though it's a new version of Kali, we got to make sure it's updated before we can install anything. So dsnif is already there, but I want to write the instruction in case you need to install it on other Debian Linux. So we can do a sudo apt install ds or dsnif. And it tells me that it's already at the newest version. So if you don't have it, you can always install it. And I put down the link for your documentation there. Yep.
I keep saying the board is for mine. I took it off the download folder.
You open it and then extract, right click it. Remove only. Show me where your folder is. The folder that contains the file. Go back one step, so click the arrow back. One more. Yeah, so see how there's still a zip?
This one?
Yeah, it's still showing the zip. You see the logo?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't open it from there. You have to extract it. It looks like the one above it is already extracted. Open it, double click. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you can try that one. That was, and then click start. That was the one that you probably used last time. Okay, any other questions? Anyone else need help? Okay, so we installed and it says it's already there. And then we're gonna do a command to look at your network interface. Remember when we use IP address, it's IP space address, but now we're just gonna use an IP link show. This allows you to see the interface or your adapter that you use to communicate on your virtual machine or on your system. So your virtual machine is always gonna think that you are connecting using an Ethernet connection, even if on your host machine you're connecting wirelessly. That's just the default setting. On the virtual machine, it needs to be told that it is connecting to a wireless through a USB. So you have to configure it before you boot it. So on Kali Linux, it's always gonna see F0, right? And then your loop back, remember we talked about 127, the loop back is known as LO, okay? It's very important that before you started, sniffing, looking, reconning, scanning, that you know two things: IP address of your system and the target, and your interface that you're using to listen, like F0, right? Ethernet 0. 0 stands for the first one on the list. Then we're gonna do an ARP. So in I'm using the wrong one. In Kali, we can do an ARP-A. And ARP stands for, anyone remember from last week? Address Resolution Protocol. It needs to come like second nature. It's like, if you speak another language at home, it's going to be that. It's security language, right? ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. It associates the IP to the MAC, right? So we can do an ARP-A, and it tells me that here I'm using F0. That's my interface. And I'm at this particular physical address, right? And this is the network that I'm using. Why is it not showing 15 here? It's because this is the address that it's used to connect for the network, right? Instead of 10.0.2.15, it's the .2 for routed. Any question? Okay. So once you did the ARP-A, take a screenshot of that. I want you to see how you can find your interface and how you can find your ARP table. Now, on this system, it's only showing one entry, but other system, if you do ARP-A, it might be longer, right? Depending on the connection, because we're not really connecting to anything. But if you start opening your browser and connecting to different web services, it's going to change. Okay. All right. Then we're going to do a urlsnarf by listening. Okay. So we're going to do a sudo urlsnarf -i at 0. That's your interface. And you're going to press enter, and it's going to tell you that it is listening on your interface using port 80 or 8080. Hence URL, right? You know that that's web. Or port 3128. So in this case, we're using a urlsnarf. So I was on the path, I have you install dsnif. I was on the path to have you turn on all your servers and things. But so give me a second. Let me pull up some information for you. Okay, my Zoom bar is in the way. Oh, did I change the tab? So dsnif is really useful for a specific attack, and we might come back to it maybe in another class. But in order for you to really see any activity for urlsnarf, leave this open. You're going to open up your Firefox browser right next to your terminal. Click the icon. And it's going to open this up. You don't have to visit a website or anything. It's already loading the Kali. Right? Just leave it for like a minute. Okay? Because what I want is I want to generate web traffic for what's being listened. Okay? So it's basically we're using a system and we're attacking our own system, or we're sniffing our own system. So it's listening to itself, but the target system, if it's visiting any kind of web, you would see that. So urlsnarf is really good at following or tracing web traffic. Okay. All right, so we're good. We can close the website. See how that changed now? Okay. So when you generate traffic, it's gonna show what kind of traffic that is. Okay. It's telling me that this is the targeting system, right? And this is the timestamp. This is the browser. It's on a Linux machine, so the OS. And it has a post method. Okay. A post method basically, and I put the link there for you to look at Mozilla WebDoc information. But if you're looking at the post method, it's basically a way for the system to send data to the server. Post often you would see in a form base. So when you're using a search engine, it has to do a post method. Why? Because we are typing in our searches in the search bar, right? For example, anytime that you are entering a data and sending it to the web server, it's going to post. Okay. And on the left-hand side on the document, the link is there for you on your lab. You can also find like what is a put. And then what is a get? So whenever you visit a site, it is a get method, right? Like if I just type in, for example, nvc.edu, it is a get method. But when I started adding, or I'm starting using some kind of sending data or entering data and sending it to the server, then I'm using a post method. Okay. Why is this important? Because it's all data, and then to really look at what could be intercepted or what could be used, maliciously, you have to understand all the processes, all the methods that's happening. Okay? So it asks you here what HTTP method is displayed. So how can I see that? It's right here. It says post. So if you have a get traffic, it's going to say get. And under Wireshark, it's the same, right? You guys seen this before. Any question? So basically, it's displaying what? Packets and packet headers. HTTP packet headers. That's what it's displaying. And when you're taking ethical hacking class, right? Some of you have me for that class for 27B. You've seen there are other tools that will do the same thing. So it's banner grabbing, basically. Okay. So when we're done with that part, we can do, so I just want you to kind of see, because we can preach to you, oh, this is what it does and what it looks like. Sometimes that visual will make you remember, right? So Control-C to cancel and back to our terminal. If you want, you can open another terminal, but it's always going to be on. So when you run urlsnarf, right, it's always gonna listen. And attackers, they would sit there and just let it listen, and they would gather the data that way, right? Okay. We're gonna do a sudo show. So show, or I'm sorry, show, so SSH-D, okay? And I wanted to do another section like last week where we would add a server and such so you can see some activity. But then, you know, I was concerned a little bit about time in the wireless aspect of the lab. But I want to show you how you can use this command. So this, just like the other one, remember the other one listens for HTTP. This one listens for SSH, right? We talked about how there would be something that would monitor and listen. Well, you can also use open source tool like this to monitor your SSH traffic. Why it's not showing anything here is because we don't have any SSH service on, right? I can go down that rabbit hole like last time where we have to configure 20 things for it to generate traffic. But if you have SSH activities, then it's going to give you something similar to this. And this is also another way that we can grab SSH banner. Okay. So it tells you what interface is listening. F0, Ethernet 0, the first Ethernet adapter on the list. And it's listening for TCP traffic. Okay, we're going to skip Yersinia because I'm going to do it to show you why. But you don't have to do this part. So hit Control-C. And then you're going to do a sudo apt install Yersinia. This is such a cool tool, and I'm so disappointed. Okay. Just recently that this tool, graphical user interface, is disabled. So once you install, the package is downloaded, you're going to do a sudo Yersinia -G for graphical user interface. But in the case that you don't know the command, you do a -h. And it gives you all the options, right? Most of all the Linux command, all the Linux tools going to be like that. Yes, you can do it in an interactive mode without using the GTK, but this tool is cool with the graphical user interface. I got to fix it close to the end and I couldn't get one of the package to work. But if, so that if you look, and on their website, you're going to see that they had moved some of the things. So you can't, it's not fully loading. So I'm going to do a -G so you can see the error. So they disabled the graphical interface for it, which is this set of code, the package. So you can you have to reconfigure it by enabling it, but you have to download a lot of different libraries for the compiler for or shell to run it. So it is not like a few things that you need to download and run. It is other. The reason why that they do this is they wanted to have more support, and it's just, you know, one of those things. Money and effort. So we're gonna skip 12 to 17. Okay, on the next one, you're gonna do a sudo hping 3 and then -- trace route with the dash capital V, and we're gonna do it 1. And you can do any domain here or an IP. And all of us hping them, they probably get floored, but so this is gonna allow you to do a ping. Anytime you see a ping, you know that it's ICMP based on what we learned last time. But we don't also ping, we're also gonna follow our packet, like putting a camera on it and following it from our system to the target. So it's gonna give you a lot of information leaving our network. It's saying that, oh, here is my virtual machine, right? Network. And then it's entering our CCD network. And then to the network of the service provider, you see right here. And we're still part of our CCD. And then, right, it's gonna end, so you're following the packet, and keep in mind that this is gonna be slower than your normal trace route or any other command that you're trying to like just ping, right? And it's also gonna show you the updated target. Now, if we're pinging ourselves, right, it's gonna be very fast. So I just want to show you that you can do a domain like this. Okay, so here, trace route, verbose, and we are gonna do it 1 for each hop. So it tells you here what protocol is used for hping, and it tells you to look at the mode set for the output. Okay, right here. And anytime you hear ping, you already know it's ICMP. Any question? So look at the mode set for that. Then we're gonna do, so hping is very useful in the case that if you want, right? And if it's not responding, sometimes it stays like this, right? That's normal. Sometimes they block it because ping can be blocked just like any other protocol. So I'm gonna do Control-C to get back. So it tells me that there are 162 packets transmitted, 17 received. I haven't finished, so I gotta wait more. And it tells me that 90% of my packets didn't get to the destination. So I at least, you know, another 10, 20 minutes. Or longer. So when you're using hping 3, this is a way that we can customize how we send the packets to look at the reply for our target system. It's a very common tool for network discovery or recon on network using hping. Okay, so on the next one, we're gonna do one more. Oh, I forgot, I didn't do this one. So you can do a range, right? So you can do a range in the option of a set. So what it's gonna do is we can send it, so we can customize this to be able to send specific things to a set or to a system. Okay. So just like before, right? And I mentioned to you that the nature of this field is weight. Okay, so you have to be patient with it sometimes. Okay, and then if you don't get response, you have to go back the step or two and then be able to troubleshoot.
Well, this stuff is.
Yeah, you don't do the one in yellow. You can skip those. You don't go through. Yeah, it doesn't work. That tool is currently disabled. We can't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want it to, yeah, it's fine. Just skip that section. Okay, so for 20, when you're pinging the set, when you're doing hping 3 for the set, right? This might take a while, so just take a screenshot of this and you can attempt it at home on your system. But pinging a set is gonna take longer than pinging one system for sure. Okay. And then we can do Control-C to move on to 21. And we're gonna use a different tool. We're gonna use nping. So we're gonna do nping -- TCP. And when we do a -P, this is gonna be port, oops, I forgot the space, port 80. And you're gonna set up the flags for SYN, right? Remember SYN and ACK in Wireshark? And you are gonna filter for time to live to, so it's gonna be only 2 to set it up for 2, and then the target is gonna be your own system. So we are pinging ourselves for and we're gonna probe port 80, which is HTTP, for the SYN flag. And at the end, it's gonna tell you how many packets were sent. So I sent one here, I received, sent another one here, received, sent another one here, received, sent another one here, received, sent another one, and received, right? If you count that up, so we saw that we sent 5 raw packets and received 5. So there was 0 loss, 100% successful. So this is a way that we can probe the port for that system that is connected, right? We can check to see if it is using that port. Is that port open, right? And you can customize the port number, right? This is 80 is just an example. So you can use nping, and in this case, we're gonna do a TCP. So it's only gonna look at TCP packets for port 80 on that target system. And so you can control how you want to send it by using parameters and options. Okay, so looking at packets sent, you can look at the summary down here. You can also count them, received and sent right here. So we had 5 sent, 5 received, 100% success. And then how many seconds were used for to ping, and it tells you if that's in the span of 4.4 seconds. It is fast because we're pinging ourselves, so it responds quickly. Also, that there's no blockage or right? If you're probing something that's being examined and blocked, it's gonna take longer. And we've seen nmap before, right? By the time that you're done with the certificate or degree, you're gonna get tired of nmap. I hope not, right? It's a very common tool. So, but practice is gonna help you remember. So sudo nmap-v. Oops. Sorry, I typed it wrong there. -v -a-sv. And we are our own target. Not a lot of service on this one, so it's, you know, it's fairly quick. So we are looking at verbose. That means more text display on our output. We're gonna do OS detection, version detection, and script scanning and trace route with the version detection SV. So if it finds it, it's gonna tell you the information here. So it tells you that, you know, it scanned 1,000 ports. They are closed. So look at the results and you would see the scan ports. How many open? How many are closed? How many packets were sent? So it sent 1,012 on mine and it received 2,022. So we're not at 100%, right? And you can expand and look at more information. So
So just show how many seconds. We're used to ping the address.
which step are you at?
23.
Yeah, how many ports were scanned? How many are open? So the ports information, it tells you right here. So you scroll halfway up, down, you would see it, or halfway up in the middle. And then for the pack, if they were open, they will tell you which ones are open. Any question? Easy, right? Can't make it too complicated like last week. It gets crazy, right? And then trying to fix if you miss a step. Or, okay. It's okay. So we learned, right, how to use nping 3 nping today to do some probing with the interface and the port for packets, sending and receiving. We learned urlsnarf today, right? And then on the last part, we're just gonna do a wireless router. So you only gonna need the power cable for the wireless router and the wireless router. If you're sitting near an empty spot, right, you can unplug the neighbors. Make sure we plug it back because I'm not in tomorrow on campus and you know, sometimes the students, they don't know and they turn things on and it doesn't work. So whatever we unplug, we're gonna plug it back. Make sure we save our work periodically. So plug your power cable to the back of your wireless and we can share, okay? But only one person is gonna be managing the router, right? Not everybody. So if you're working with your friends or next door neighbor, just look on their screen. We cannot connect to one router. So 3 people trying to configure the same router is not gonna work, okay? So just use one computer to do the next part. And I don't mind if you work in group. Okay, so once we plug the cable in into the back and to the power connection, you're gonna turn it on. Always reset before. Okay. And then if you need to reset, just use a pen and you're gonna push down next to the power button. So that way it goes to the manufacturer reset. Because sometimes they forget to do that at the end, but when you finish, make sure you reset for the next student. Okay. So to connect to it, there's a sticker on the bottom. It will tell you which router that you're using. The SSID is on the bottom sticker. And it will tell you it will tell you the access information. So that means that I have to connect to it, right? So it tells me here that once I reset, I'm going to go to settings. And then I'm going to go to network and internet, make sure that my Wi-Fi is on. Okay. And then click on that, show available networks. And all your router that turns on is here. Make sure we click the right one because that happened in my class before where someone is trying to connect to someone else's router. No, it's right. It's this one. You just need a pen to stick in that little pen or pencil. So for mine, right, I use the 8C31. And you can connect to the regular or the 5G. And then for the security key, your password is right above it. It's on the bottom sticker as well. So if you put in your PIN and it doesn't work, that means you need to reset it, right? Because sometimes, what happened? Okay, so we have to wirelessly connect to it. Then we're gonna open up a browser. And we're gonna put in the IP address for it. And the default IP address for this thing is the same as the other one. So once you are wirelessly connected to it, you're gonna open up your browser and you're gonna type in 192.168.0.1. And you should see this screen. If you don't, that means you're not connected to your router properly. Right? If it just go to a search for IP address, that's not right. And the default admin password, so this one they didn't reset. Yeah, I have to reset mine. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first password to access it, it's the PIN number. You see password/PIN?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, any questions?
Is it supposed to take a long time to connect? Or is it something like it?
Only one person is to connect. So if you guys are all sharing one router, one person, and then you can share the answers. Okay? Because, yeah, not because when you are on as an admin, you should just, yeah, one person work on it. You can share the stuff. So you were.
So. We just said how to use.
Did work?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to use that. So use the pen,
So get out of this one, right?
and then in the back next to the power button, there's a hole. You just need to pull it down for a second.
Oh, yes.
And then
Also, I'm gonna do it.
the hole next to the power is. And then you're gonna hold it down for a few seconds. And turn the power off and then turn it back on. But you have to reset while the power is on, because it needs to reset the signal. And then we have to reestablish the connection again. Settings. Mine was 31. And then put in the pin, security key pin. You guys are welcome to hook another one up in that same computer and then do, you know, sometime a little bit of interference with the signal. There's more. So that way, if you want more exposure to it.
So. Okay, so we're just gonna, we're gonna get another one. So let's do it. Ready? So we're gonna do it. We're getting right here.
Yeah, I think that,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
you don't
plus
see
two.
fluoride.
So what do you get one? No, no, no. I get one. So we'll. You just gotta do the number. You just go down. What's your setup? Yeah.
Yeah, so your quick setup is here. Okay, so, right, let's go exit. And it's gonna take you to the general. Yeah, when you guys get to the quick setup, if you exit quick setup, it's gonna give you the. Yeah, I think we don't have it. Yeah. So, if you don't see any map. Yeah, so it tells you to make. Yeah, maybe with some. And then at the end. Yeah. Won't have no connection out there. Because when you kind of configure. No, you didn't use the iPhone. No, I said, yeah. Yeah, your router will not have.
Yeah, none of us have.
Yeah, so the first time to join the network, you use the PIN number. If it has a password, likely that you need to reset and restart it. So once we wirelessly connected to it, open your browser. And then you're gonna type in your IP address, 192.168.0.1. This is your router's default IP address. And if you reset, it's gonna ask you to make a new password like that. And we can make a new password, but we're gonna reset it at the end. So use a pen. The reset button is between the black button and the power button. You just need to stick your pen in there and hold it down while it's on for a few seconds. Turn the router off and then restart it. Yeah, so just reset it while it's on. Hold it down for about 2 seconds. And then restart. And a pencil. So we can make a password for our system, right? That's the practice, is to reset the default password. Or did it not match? Okay. So once we make the password, you're gonna see the screen. We just simply click exit for the quick setup. We're not setting it up for connection yet. We're gonna look at the configuration for other things. So when you click exit, you're gonna see the general IP information. So here, right? Click exit to get out of the quick startup. And then you're going to look at the internet. So we're going to look at the status to answer this question. What is the IP address of the LAN? So go back here. It tells you the IP address. That's the router IP, right? So we can put that down. 192.168.0.1. And then the subnet mask, the next part, this is a class C. So 255.255.255.0. What is the max? So as you go down, you're gonna look at the information on the page, this right here. Okay. And then after that, you're gonna go to the network on the left, and you're gonna look at the IPTV settings. So on the network, you can select different options. So for the IPTV, this allows you to set up IGMP snooping. So look at the right, it tells you what that is. To prevent hosts from the local network to receive traffic for a multicast group that have not explicitly joined. Okay. It's useful when you are using a lot of bandwidth. And you can also set up proxy and so on. So right here, answer the question. And then we're gonna click on the MAC clone. And notice that your wireless, your WAN MAC address, right, is this value. And the PC is a different address here. So when you clone the MAC address, it's gonna be identical. Okay. So your WAN MAC address is gonna become your PC MAC address. And a MAC address is a physical address of that system, right? Where an IP address is a network address of that system. And then we can look at the 2.4. Then, so next you can look at the encryption. So after you fill out the questions, the answer for the questions, come back here. We can go to wireless 2.4. This is our SSID. We talked about that today. It's on auto channel, but you can always change. So on the 2.4, as you saw in the notes, you have 11 channels, right? Some are overlapping. Then on the channel width, on the 2.4, it's only 20 and 40. But if you look at the 5G, you're gonna have more channel width and channels. Okay. So when we look at the wireless security under 2.4, click here, right? So AES, and we said that AES is the best one on that list, right? We don't want to use TKIP because TKIP is outdated and it is susceptible to attack. And if you put it on auto, it's going to switch back and forth. So we want to use AES. And the version is going to be WPA2, right? And you can, because it is a home wireless router, PSK is what normally is the option, is pre-shared key, right? You just need to have a passcode to join that network. So that should help you answer the next couple of questions here. Now, I have you do this, but it might throw an error. I just want you to set it up. So you can add a MAC address of another system. You don't have to complete this part, but so wireless MAC filter, you can allow or deny, right? So if I want to block someone from adding to my network, I can deny by their MAC address. We're going to do an add new, and then we can put in an IP, a MAC address. So for example, if I use their example MAC address like this, it has to be a real MAC address of a system that's connected. So if your system is not connected, it's going to throw an error anyway. Right? And then we're going to enable this. We're going to click save. So screenshot this. If you're entering an arbitrary address, just screenshot it like that. You don't have to complete it, because if it's not connected, it's not gonna be able to take it anyways. It has to be a real system. Okay. So you can use your computer MAC address, or you can use another system MAC address. So how can I get a computer MAC address? Side notes, right? If you do CMD and you do a get MAC, it would give you the MAC address of the system that the computer is connected to. Or you can do ipconfig /all. So on the /all, right, it's gonna give you the MAC address. So I'm gonna use this real quick. Yeah, it doesn't like the colon. It has to be dashes, I think. A 3A, 4D, 87, and so on. So you can find the MAC address by doing ipconfig /all, like this. Or you can do a get MAC to get the MAC address table. Question. So depending on the adapter that you have, when you do ipconfig all, just make sure you go to your, your wireless adapter or your Ethernet adapter, not the VirtualBox or the VMware one, but the right adapter, like Ethernet 7 or, okay. All right. We can allow, and in the case you want to block, we would deny. So for this part, 41 and 42, we don't have to do. Okay. 43 also. So you can stop after screenshot of your MAC address adding for that MAC address, and then you go to the next part. Don't do 41 to 43. I gotta take those out. Then we are going to look at the 5G tab, and we're gonna look at to see if the guest network is disabled. By default, it should be disabled. You should not enable guest wireless network unless it's absolutely necessary and it's very temporary. Okay, so 5G, and then we can do guest network, it is disabled by default. So how can you limit access? You can give it a time period where you would want or you would allow that access, right? You can set the time for access by using time settings. So I can maybe allow guest network for 1 hour on a certain day or day, but I don't recommend each day. I normally would recommend on a specific day. And then we would turn it off when we're done. So if you want to do that, you can do an ad. So for example, you might have visitors who come to audit your company and they need that access, so you can do a guest network enable and add in the time. Yeah, so you can load in your own Mac packet. So yeah, you go there and then do PNG. So you get. Arbitrary. So you can use get Mac, one word command, get your Mac address, and you can get what you want to know. Yeah. Yeah, pick one of the Mac address.
Okay.
Add
What
one.
is the-
I'm gonna let it go, but it's not a go. So 41, 42, and 43, we don't have to text it, okay? We just add the address. So that way you know how to do this. At home, your router should have the same feature. What's that? Yeah, I think the example on the right side is very useful. And the poll, I think the people who wrote it is wrong, the poll was on the but some systems. Yeah, it's fine. It's a dash.
Yeah, it just changed. Pretty much just copy it.
So when you guys are putting the MAC address for step 39 and 40, make sure we use the dashes like how your system display it. And we talked about use get MAC, right? To find your MAC address, or you can do ipconfig /all on Windows. Okay, so on the 5G, we talked about how we can enable and disable the network. We can set up the time for it. And then on your router, it acts as a DHCP. So DHCP it stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This is used to distribute IP address to the connected system. So that way the system can be part of the network. So this is where you can configure it. And at home, your router is the same thing. So on this, by default, it should be enabled. And we can, by default, we have a range, so we can literally connect 99 system on this particular router with this range, because we have 100 to 199, right? But in a Class C address, you can have up to 254 systems. But the more you have on one centralized controller, the more bogged down you're gonna get, right? So you can have more than that, but 100 is a lot for a wireless router for home use. I saw a hand. Oh. So use. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta be switched.
So that would be the MAC address that we have for our only visibility.
No, for the names. Yeah, so, yeah, so, but on your computer, IP is not the same as the network IP. This one is 192. Yeah, so the IP. 51. So for 51. Enter the IP address. Okay, for port 4. Yeah, I guess you can put in. You can put in the system IP, but because it will likely not take it because it's a different network. It's different IP. It's kind of like apple and oranges. So you can do like 192.168.0.55 or something. Go here. And then type CMD to open up the computer.
Takes forever for you to type. Yeah. That's something we can well, it doesn't.
So you can use any of these, but for the dash. Into the Mac table of the web. Yeah, some system, Windows uses the dash, but most system uses colon. And then other, so it's just a format issue, yeah. And then you don't have to do 41.
That's why I say. There's a lot.
Yeah, the password, not reset. Even on you reset it to That's the password. Sometimes time for that. This would be the password we create. So to compose it, if we touch it around. Make sure we reset when we're done, right? So that way they're not lost next time when they use it, whoever that's using the router. But reset doesn't take very long, just a few seconds and we start. What's going on? If you created it, so this is there. The forming, so.
To skip the highlighting.
Yeah. It's on the. It's on yeah, me too. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
First
so
question.
53.
Yeah, so what you wanna do?
And the IP address can be another item.
So you can talk to.
So, but ideally you want, so it's kind of like, I passed it to you. And so in order to get, you know, from, let's say, from 80 to 21, I would but here is where, you know, any opportunity happens. Once I get to the next and then put in the force that follow No, you guys are at, some of you are at port forwarding section, port trigger, some of you are done. Okay, so on this part, we wanted to set up a way that we can forward, right, certain type of traffic from a certain port. So when we set up 53, that is DNS, and whenever that particular traffic is for DNS, it's gonna forward it to a certain system, right? That system is gonna receive all the traffic for DNS. Okay, so just think of it like anytime that you have the delivery person from Amazon, you're gonna receive it on your side door, and the side door is that port number. Okay, for only Amazon delivery. But if all the other stuff is through another door, so we can set up a certain thing, and we can also set up port trigger. So under port trigger, we would be able to create a certain type of traffic coming from a certain website to trigger it, and then you can put in an IP address to be able to set that up. Okay. I think I'm locked out. Okay, and then on the last part, we just need to set up, we can look at the virtual private network. So your router at home should be able to, you can configure a virtual private network on it, along with, you know, using filtering on a certain type of traffic to block, to allow, and so on. Okay. So this kind of gives you a little bit more understanding on how to administer a wireless router for small business or home use. Yes.
So let's see what the
Yeah, kind of like saying that whenever that traffic comes, you have it to the side door. So you can do it for all kinds of needs, like for surveillance camera, of course.
So you look at next one, how we can limit access from those
But to submit it, I'll go into this. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to text it. Right.
Yeah. But I didn't want to stop. See how much. You got. You know, you know, what I mean? Because that's what- but this. If I. Let me just.
Oh, you want me to reset it?
Yeah.
You're gonna reset it and then do the whole thing?
No, okay, ready.
Oh.
And then you can pay that.
Plug it?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the.
All right, let's do attendance. I know some of you are leaving. So let me stop recording. Okay, so when we're done, return the router, save your work, submit your work. Let me stop recording.